we had 3 good candidates, but Peter Larkman was by far the best of the candidates. And in my opinion, he turned out to be, next to Gethin Hewan, the best headmaster in the modern day that we had there. He was a phenomenal man. Although he did have a torrid time after the school went down. So we have the vote, and I'm saying to Peter Larkman over a cup of tea, how are you getting back to Gordonston in Scotland, which is where he was talking? He said, well, I'm flying out of Heathrow. I said, have you ordered a car? How are you getting to Heathrow? He said, well, I've got a car possibly coming, but they say it's going to take 4 hours because the traffic's bad. I said, well, I'm going to New York tonight and I have to be there for dinner. I've got a helicopter that I booked. Would you like a lift? He looked at me and he said, I've never been in a helicopter. I said, well, would you like a lift? And so he came and we had a 40-minute journey to Heathrow talking, but I couldn't tell him he'd got the vote. And we'd agreed that he would be paged at Heathrow and told. So at any event, we land at Heathrow and both of us needed to go to the loo. So we're both standing at the urinal when there's a page saying, well, Mr. Peter Larkman, come to a certain place. Anyway, he went, and then we could share a drink before I had to jump on my supersonic flight to New York for dinner. And that was the best. I wished he'd been there 10 years before, and I don't think it would have been the same situation. But having got Peter, the numbers crept up a bit, and then we got to another situation where we were having more and more requests for Chinese students to come to the school. And I thought, this is good and bad. It's good in it's producing income, and bad because they stay in cliques and it's dissipating the whole ambiance of the school. And so I moved that we had a limit to the number of Chinese students, which most of the governors agreed to. And then when I got the figures for the next year, I felt we were on a borderline. Peter was consistently getting the numbers up, but the parents really didn't want to send their children to boarding schools, and they didn't want to send them to a boarding school where there was no motorway for them to get down and see them. And so I moved 2 years before the decision was made that we close the school, because I was concerned that we were trading as an insolvent entity, which is illegal, even as a charity. And I got outvoted 18-1, so we carried on. And 2 years later, the vote had to go. And it was the saddest day of my life, because it had been so much to me, the school, in every which way you can imagine. And just to see it disappear would be sad. And then, when the Hobbs brothers came up with a scheme to take the school over, I was relieved, but concerned, because no one from that consortium ever came and asked questions about why did the school go down and what were the problems that they had to face. They had their plan, which was up to them, but to put a managing director in over a headmaster seemed a bit strange to me. And poor Peter Larkman had to suffer for years being second guessed when he could have led the school brilliantly. And occasionally I'd meet 1 or 2 people who were on the consortium, and they would say how badly the school had been run and how atrocious this was and that was. And I said, but none of you have asked why it happened. Wouldn't you want to know that? No, we've got our own way of doing things. So let it be. That's how it happened. And I admire the Hobbs brothers for trying. Of course, had nothing to lose if they got it going, because they had the security of owning the land and the buildings. It gave an extension which was really good. And I had sent my youngest daughter there because my mother lived in Lyme Regis, and she wanted to see more of my mother, and she was unhappy where she was at school, and she had a wonderful 2 years there, and all due to Peter Larkman, and actually Phillips Grave Morris, who taught her art, and Gravy was the best art teacher we'd had for a long, long while. So, very sad day.